whether religion is a culprit, whether bad governance and authoritarianism is a culprit. Like, it's quite complex.
Yeah. Well, one is certainly by not accepting any premise when you go in to report a story, which is like, I think the general thing is you want to go on a journey of discovery and really try to understand, whatever it is, whatever subject it is you're tackling. And the question of religion is a very nuanced subject. I mean, the majority of people in the Arab world, for example, are very religious. So what does that mean when you say a religious government? Well, it could just be a reflection of what their actual values, social values at large. And so obviously it's when you tackle the issue of religion, you have to sort of be it's a nuanced subject. Yes, there is this idea that secular dictatorships are maybe better for women, but actually secular dictatorships are not good for anybody, and women are just part of society, So, and repression is there's this trickle-down effect, if you're repressed, repression begets more repression, so there is and oftentimes people in that part of the world are caught between this kind of false dichotomy, between the secular dictatorship and the religious political Islam and religious governance, and actually it's sort of like they both benefit off of this false dichotomy, because by what's it called, projecting or putting the saying we're not them, you're always caught between these two, to many people, two horrible options basically, and it's very hard to actually see something different grow from the grounds up and present something a way out of these sort of two options that people are often caught between. You're caught between choosing the religious guy, the bearded religious guy who's playing to the general social values, and then you're also thinking that at least this one's going to put this one in check. But actually, at the end of the day, society is suffering from a great deal of suppression, a great deal of apathy, disillusionment, and the majority of people there are probably under the age of 30. There's a lot of hopes and aspirations for change, and they're really just oftentimes facing and confronting a government that's not presenting them with opportunity. And so in tackling the question of religion, to get back to your question, I love talking about religion. I mean, I love tackling the question of religion because I think there's just a lot of depth and a lot of room there to, one, break stereotypes, but also really gain a better understanding of what it is we're talking about. And yeah, so it is something that I've always kind of gravitated towards, which is pulling apart these, peeling away at the layers, of society and social values, and what makes religion something that politicians can peddle, with, and what makes it actually compelling, and just the simple fact that religion is part of anybody's identity in this part of the world. So it is actually something, it's not something that's necessarily scary or fearful or this kind of thing, and it is actually something that is an inherent part of the identity, individual identity and social identity, and so I think being an Egyptian, a Muslim, regardless of how I practice or how I don't practice, I think just the sort of more nuanced understanding of growing up with all these different things and understanding that you need to sort of you're always negotiating, what your identity is, you're a woman, but you're Muslim, but you're Arab, but you're a journalist. And these are all layers of my own personal identity, right? And there are moments where you're on the street and you're you're feeling I'm a woman, and this is an attack on my identity as a woman, or I'm a Muslim, and someone saying that all Muslims are X is an attack on my identity as a Muslim, or I'm Arab, and the Arabs are terrorists is an attack on my identity as an Arab. So there are different moments and different parts of identity that you are constantly facing and having to defend or understand or unravel or unpack. And I think on a more universal level, this is true. And so I think our role as journalists is sometimes to kind of dive into these questions and help people understand that at the core of everything is this question of identity, I think. And oftentimes when people are attracted to even extreme groups or directions, it is often because they are looking to belong. And I think this is true in where I come from. I think this is true today too here when you see this and you're asking, well, what would make someone do this? And oftentimes it's their desire to be seen, it's their desire to belong, it's their fears, and oftentimes politicians and corrupt politicians are really giving air to that and instigating and what's the word, fueling, those fears.